And welcome to The Rest is Football with Alan Shearer, Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker. The lineup for this year's FA Cup semi-finals has been set, and it's exciting to say it's perhaps not the usual suspects. Well, three of them are not the usual suspects that we've seen over recent years, and the draw has pulled out Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest against Manchester City, and those matches will be played at Wembley at the end of April. Before we get into discussing the quarterfinals from this weekend, though, there was another big game at Wembley that took place a couple of weeks ago that is still making the headlines. Alan, you were there at Newcastle's victory parade. Tell us about your day. But first, is that one of the hats that you got given? You're wearing there? Oh no, it's a lamp. It's a lamp for those.
I thought I was being really decorative and putting the lamp behind me in this bedroom here. I'm up at Glen Eagles, guys, so I'm in a lovely room and playing in a golf pro-am. So I thought I was being really clever and putting the light behind me, but obviously not.
Yesterday...
Oh, lads, honestly, it was like, I was sending some of the videos through and some of the pictures to you guys, and the scenes were just unreal. I've never seen any... I don't think Newcastle hasn't seen anything like that ever before. I always said I wanted to see Newcastle when we won a trophy, or they won a trophy, and it was everything I hoped it would be and a lot more. The fans were just... from the moment the bus sort of set off from St James's Park, I don't know, there were like 80 or 90 deep that were on top of the bus shelters, on top of hotels, on top of... It was just incredible. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I don't know how many were there, but there must have been, I don't know, northwards of 300,000 who sort of followed the parade and then got onto the town moor as well. So it was... God knows what the players must have absolutely loved it, because they got some reception. I know they deserve it, absolutely, but they must have loved it, because to be a part of that and to be on that bus with the trophy and the fans, what they were given them, must have been incredible for them. And then to get onto the stage and have another 150 or 200,000 people on the town moor cheer you on as well. It was just a great day, and the way everyone mixed and everyone sort of got on, and the atmosphere was brilliant.
Did you give a speech, Al?
Yeah, I did a Q&A thing on stage. And for me, I was on just before the players came on with the trophy, and standing on stage and just looking out, seeing, 150,000 people or what in a sea of black and white. It was unbelievable. It really was. It was such a pleasure to be there, and the reception that I got was incredible. Pete Graves and Lindsay Hipgrave did the interviews on stage. Ant and Deck were doing them on the bus, and one of them mentioned my dad, and I got a bit emotional, because he always wanted to see Newcastle win the trophy as well. Another trophy, I should say. He's seen them in '69, but he didn't. He wanted to see them win again. So unfortunately he wasn't there, but I'm sure he's watching. I got a bit emotional on stage. So, but I have to tell you, it was just one of the best weekends ever. It really was, where the whole sort of Geordie nation came together.
Whereabouts were you yourself when the bus was going around?
I was actually on the town moor, because we all went to the ground to have something to eat and a drink, and we were all royally entertained, and there was, maybe a couple of hundred people in the restaurant and bar in St James's Park. And because of all the roads that were closed, we had to leave the ground at just after 3:00 to get to the actual town moor. So I didn't physically see the bus leave St James's Park. I saw it arrive into the town moor and what have you, but we had to actually get to the town moor because everywhere was closed and for security reasons and what have you.
Well, so when you're on the stage being interviewed, I presume that was in front of thousands and thousands.
Did you promote our podcast on there? Did you give us a shout out or what?
To be honest, lads, you two idiots were the last things on my mind when I was celebrating yesterday. Honestly, that moment, when I actually walked out onto the stage and looked out and saw northwards of 150,000 people in black and white shirts and them cheering my name, that moment will live with me forever. It really was an incredible moment. It was just so special.
Imagine if you'd actually played a part.
I know, yeah, that's what I said. I said if I couldn't win one myself, then I had to be there as a fan. I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I was there for the trophy parade. And what I would say is that if Newcastle are lucky enough to go on and win other trophies, like Chelsea did or Man City did, if they go on, I cannot see it being as good as this one has been, because just of all the excitement and how long it's been and everything else, and the parade, and I mean everything, the match, the parade and everything. I just cannot see, if we are lucky enough to win another one, it being as good as this one.
Can I just ask you one serious question? Why are Geordies so passionate about football? Because they're everywhere, aren't they? They're everywhere. The scenes, the pictures that you sent, the videos, it was quite remarkable.
They're just one club city, isn't it? It's just, and we just love our football, and we've been starved of success for so many years, and it's, I think it was just a relief that we eventually got over the line. And yeah, we love our football. It's the life. It is honestly, I don't think I've been anywhere in the country where you have nanas and grandas, mums and dads, young kids, and everyone who wears the black and white shirt like the Newcastle people do, and I think that's why it's maybe in Liverpool or maybe in Glasgow for Rangers and Celtic, I don't know, but it is very, very different and unique in Newcastle.
I was wandering around Barnes this morning, and there was a chap there in a black and white scarf, and I went, "You still wearing it?" He said, "I've not taken it off since."
Brilliant! Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it is amazing.
It really did you get to mingle with any of the players or the management?
Yeah, the players were. The players came in into the VIP tent just before they went on stage. So they were just like. Every single one was talking how much it was like a wow moment, because when they got on the bus and they were all saying how they expected like thousands and thousands to be there, but they probably didn't expect it to be as passionate and as loud and as noisy and as many people that were lining the streets right throughout the city, and they just absolutely loved it. And I think they've got a really good chance now, because the feeling and the belief and everything, I hope, that carries them through to the end of the season, and hopefully and then get into Champions League football.
It'll be interesting to see how they go, won't it, with the games now, how the reaction will be post that success and the emotional drain that. I mean, even with it being successful, you just don't want the rest of the season to be like the Lord after the Lord Mayor's show,
exactly.
do you?
Yeah, exactly. They've got Brentford on Wednesday, and they trained yesterday. They're training today. They're training Monday. They're training Tuesday, and they're training Wednesday morning as well. And because Eddie had taken them to Dubai, and he said, "No, that's your party," and they weren't allowed to drink yesterday all last evening. None of them went to the after party, so he sort of got them back straight in and focused.
Did you? I presume you had a couple.
Well, I had a couple, yeah. There was no ban on me having a drink. I had a couple, absolutely, yeah.
Fantastic. Are you still sticking by that? What you said, I don't care if they don't win another game all season.
Well, ask me on Thursday morning. Brilliant. It's been a great couple of weeks, it really has.
One kind of newsy story that, it's been out all week, where we haven't spoken about it yet, and there's obviously all the talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold going to Real Madrid. It looks like it might happen, but it's not. We're not sure yet. There's obviously been an approach, and he's had a bit of stick from Liverpool fans and stuff. And it's I don't mind saying I think it would be an absolutely fabulous move for him. I think to play for Real Madrid is something that is very difficult to turn down. He's been at Liverpool since he was a kid. It transcends him into a kind of another level when you're playing for a club like that. I think it'll be absolutely brilliant for him. He's their sort of player, because they like to see beautiful football and attacking football, and he's one of the best passers of the ball in the world game. We tend to focus in this country a little bit on the negative or the kind of weakness in a player's game, whereas over there, from my experience, they generally just focus on what you're good at. So I think that'll probably go away. I think it's got to the stage now with the defending aspect of it, where if a winger goes past him, he gets stick. Now, wingers go past fullbacks all the time, but nobody ever says anything. Now, I know he's not a great defender, but you can't be great at everything. So it will be fascinating to see if it happens. I suspect it probably will. And I hope the Liverpool fans give him a really good send-off, because I think for what he's done for the club, he deserves it.
I don't get the criticism. I mean, he's entitled to do whatever he wants. He's given that football club absolutely everything. Yes, he's on a good salary, but he's won everything. And if he wants to challenge himself going abroad and playing for Real Madrid, then so be it. They turned a bid down for him in January, so they could have made money on him. He's played, 350 games-ish, and he's always given his best. They should give him a great send-off. And sometimes as a player, when the Liverpool fans will say, well, he should have come out and should have said something. Well, no, because why should he have to come out? And he's entitled to say nothing, and he doesn't have to tell the story of what's gone on or what hasn't gone on. He's an individual who has worked his socks off and won everything, and Liverpool will get over it like they always do. They always have had great players, and great players have left. Great players have also come back in, and Liverpool will be the same. And they should give him a great send-off. If he wants to do that, then good on him.
I think it's only fair to say that it will only be a certain kind of percentage of Liverpool fans. It's not all of them. I think a lot of them will totally understand his position. What do you think, Micah?
Yeah, I agree with what you're both saying. I think the only thing that doesn't sit right with me is the player, and we've talked about him how many times and said he's one of the best right backs in the world, or the stuff that he can do, no other right back can do. It seems a sad story that a fullback in the prime of his career is going for free. And I know it happens. I know it happens, and that's not his fault. If you look at the club, and I've been listening to all sorts of different opinions on it, and people were saying when Klopp was there and he was having the say on who goes and who stays or whatever it may be. But in an ideal world, I'd like to see Trent be bought for 150 million, because that's how much I think he's worth. And it would have been nice for Liverpool to get something for him just because of the player that he is.
I think they've had something from him. They've had many, many years of brilliance.
But in terms of fee...
How much did they pay for him?
Nothing.
Exactly. How much did they pay for him?
No, it come from the... Yes, of course, nothing. But a player of that calibre walking out for free, I just can't believe the club have allowed that to happen. I'm not blaming Trent. I'm blaming the communication between the player and the club, and I think it's difficult because he's not going to come out, like you said, Alan, and say, I want to go or I want to stay or whatever. He wants the best deal and whatever is right for his career, whether that's to go in Real Madrid or staying. But I just don't like the fact that it's constantly in the media. And if you look at the owners, and you guys have been there, once your contract gets down to your last 2 years, you either sign a new deal or you look to sell him. It's as simple as that. And now he's getting a lot of the heat for something that is not his fault. Now, going to Real Madrid, that's another story. I went to Real Madrid a couple of months ago now, and it's extraordinary in terms of the setup, the new stadium, even just like the aura of the place. Multiple Champions League winner, I think it's 15, or European Cup wins, 15. So we can't begrudge Trent wanting to go to Real Madrid. He said himself he wants to be the first fullback to win the Ballon d'Or. So I wish him well.
Me too. And the one thing I would say on transfers, if I was looking after players now, if I was an agent and I had some really, really top players, I'd encourage them all to get to the end of the contract. Why should players be traded like pieces of meat? I mean, very expensive pieces of meat as well. Why should they? At the end of the, if they think, right, I'll do 2 years here and then I'm ambitious to do something else and go elsewhere. And if a club, obviously, in this sense, if let's say, for example, he'd sold him for 100 million. If you get to your end of your contract, you're in a wonderful position for business-wise to negotiate your deal will be much better. I mean, Mbappe's done it, hasn't he? We've seen him do it. He ultimately went for a free, but we know that, that he would have a huge salary because of that. So I don't know. I think players should be the one. It's their careers, it's their lives, and to have that kind of opportunity, and he's given a lot, and I think it's fair for him to try the challenges at this point in his career.
No club now with a player of that stature can afford to let a player get into the last 12 months of his contract, because ultimately you're talking hundreds of millions of pounds now for a player, and if the club are going to prepare and take that risk, then that's not his fault.
What about Real Madrid though? Real Madrid got Mbappe, Rudiger, and possibly Trent for free. That is ridiculous. The business that they do is remarkable. Have you guys actually looked at Real Madrid's squad? If they get Trent, it's not fair. It's actually not fair. Like, you go through all their players, quality, even with players like Mendy, who no one even mentions, the left back. Camavinga, who's been in and out the side, Tchouaméni, who's the Uruguayan boy, Valverde,
a really
who's
good
been
player.
playing right back.
Fede Valverde, play anywhere, him.
He could play anywhere. And then Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo.
Yeah, they're a bit light up front, but apart from that.
It's not fair what they're doing to football. It's actually not fair what they're doing. They're too good.
Giants of football.
It's ridiculous.
Let's move on to a bigger trophy. No, physically, I'm talking about. The FA Cup. I thought it was a good performance from Manchester City today.
Well, they were up against it, eh?
I had it on the car back, so I didn't see all of the game. I saw drips and drabs, but everyone's always asking me, why did Man City buy Isak instead of Haaland? Literally, all my Man City fans are just, Isak's playing well at the moment.
So you'd have Isak over Haaland?
No, do not put words into my mouth, Mr. Lineker.
I wasn't. I was asking you a question.
No. I've said my piece on Haaland many times. I don't think there's a striker in the world that will outscore him. And for what Man City need, I think he's absolutely perfect. So if you ask me, do I think Isak's better at holding up the ball? Yes. Do I think he's better on taking people on? Yes. He's got more strings to his bow. But for Man City, I think Haaland and his age, and not the fact that he's just doing it at Man City, he did it at Dortmund before that. And he did it at Salzburg before that. He is, at what a level, a top goal scorer. So I would always pick Haaland as a goal scorer. And in the first half, he missed a few chances. I mean,
he did, didn't he?
you guys are better placed to talk about that than me, but yeah, he missed a few chances.
Well, all strikers that score a lot of goals miss a lot of goals because the nature of it is getting in those positions. I mean, normally he's a very, very accomplished finisher. There's no question about that. Alan, who would you take, Isak or Haaland?
What? Who would you take?
I think Isak's technically better than Haaland. I wouldn't definitely say that. In terms of goals, then I mean Haaland's scored more. Is probably better in front of or better goal scorer, but they're very different. They're very different. And I'm not going to pick. I couldn't pick one, but they're very different. And Isak, without doubt, is technically better than Haaland.
In that sense, yeah. I mean, Haaland's just an out-and-out goal scorer, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a machine.
He really is. He's a goal-scoring machine.
He is, yeah. The one thing you would never in that Man City team, the way they play and he plays, you would never worry about missing chances. You would never worry about missing a penalty. Like he missed a couple of chances as well as the penalty, that would never affect you because you're going to get another chance or two at least if you keep going and getting in there. And that's exactly what happened and has happened whenever he's missed chances.
Absolutely. I thought Nico O'Reilly did really well, didn't he, when he came on?
We've talked about him before, haven't we? He scored a couple against Plymouth as well, didn't he? And he just exploited that space. I think Bournemouth, I wouldn't say they dropped off, but Man City pushed them back because now Bournemouth like to play high press. But he saw the gaps, and then it was the quality of his pass, the timing. And I heard Chelsea wanted to buy him for £40 million. I heard on the radio coming back, and I was like, that's the first time I've heard that. But he was like a real standout today. When he come on, he changed the game.
The ball he put in for Haaland was just perfection, wasn't it? It was like, there you go. It's on a plate for you. You can't miss that. And he didn't. I mean, it was a nightmare for the defenders, but just perfection for the centre-forward, Haaland.
I preferred the ball for Mamouche, though.
Oh,
the
vision
outside.
and the awareness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What
Keeper should have saved that, no?
Yes, but in terms of the
saved
assist
it,
and the pass to, it sort of looked like he was going to go one way and then flicked it the other way. The awareness to do that was really good.
Life as a goalkeeper, though, isn't it? He made, obviously saved a penalty, made a couple of great saves, and then one goes through you, and everyone just remembers that one, which is hard. A little quiz question here: how many times since Pep's been at Manchester City has he taken them to Wembley?
To Wembley.
Oh. How long's he been there now?
Wow,
about 8 years, isn't he? Something like that.
Well, I know they've got to the semis 7 years in a row. Yeah. I know that stat.
I'm going to say 14.
Micah?
So what we're saying, they've won the league 4 years on a trot. Then
what's that got to do with Wembley?
Because where's Charity Shield played, Alan?
Blind Charity Shield, you've gone for a blast from the past there. It's Community Shield these days.
Community Shield. Community Shield. So if you win the league, Alan, you should know this, having won the league.
I'm with you.
Community Shield.
So we've got 4 there. Then you've got semi-finals and finals. Oh my God. I'm going to say 15.
21.
What? 21? Really?
21 times, counting the Community Shield, of course.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. It's
amazing.
21 times.
Incredible. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they could still. They'll be favourites, obviously, going into the semi-finals, and they could salvage something from.
Forest have beaten them. They've beaten them. What? I don't know. What was it 6 weeks ago? 4 or 5 weeks ago?
Oh yeah, and they could do so again, but. Yeah. They could still salvage something out of what has been a bit of a write-off of a season elsewhere, really.
Yeah, they could. It worries me, though, Forest, in all honesty, just because they're very good at counter-attacks, aren't they? And that's Man City's weakness, I would say. I think, bless him, Mateus Nunes at right back. He's just, I don't like saying out of his depth because he's a midfielder filling in, obviously getting rid of Walker. Rico Lewis being in and out, but I worry. I worry on a counter-attack. But in terms of their season as a whole, if they finish in Champions League and FA Cup, if that's a bad season, then they will take it. That's what I mean.
I know,
that's the standards they've set.
It's the
standards they've set, isn't it?
A bad season, FA Cup and finishing the top 4. Bloody hell.
Yeah. Wow.
I did the game yesterday at Brighton Forest. Oh my word! Not much happened in that. Thankfully, that's the saving grace of a penalty shootout, which gave us some entertainment at the end. But boy, the game was
it that bad?
Yeah.
Can I just ask you guys, please? So normally, and you can explain better than I ever could, at halftime, and normally you do your little bits. You might have your links that you've got to do or trails, whatever it may be, VT. But then normally, after you come back. After you've done that, the teams are normally out, ready to go. But I was thinking to myself, where are the teams? What's happening here? And because the game was boring game, wasn't it? Which we'll talk about a little bit later. And he was just filling and filling and filling. And then he talked about Rooney's fish or scared of fish.
He told me that we were chatting before the game. We were talking about the fact that Brighton's so close to the sea. How far is it? And Wayne's gone, I don't like the sea at all. I went, oh, really? What, even in a nice, warm, tropical water? And he went, no, he said, I'm scared of fish. So, I mean, it got to the stage where we had 2 minutes more to chat and I'd run out of anything to say in the first half, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Oh, my God.
So I just turned to him.
So does that mean he doesn't eat fish either? No, he doesn't like any fish.
I think he's all right with them
seafood.
dead. And he did say later, I meant big fish.
Oh, God, it must have been a shit game if he were talking about he didn't like fish.
I think what happened in the game, talking tactically possibly, I think Herzl, having suffered the ignominy of being battered 7-0 by Forest, and when they were playing, they just played through them quite easily. I think I don't know this, but this is what I assumed, that I think they were worried about doing that. They didn't play the customary really high energy, high press. And they sort of played Forest at their own game. Both teams, because we know Forest, I think they've got the least amount of possession of all the teams in the league. They're happy without the ball and sitting. And I think Brighton, he tried to play them a little bit at their own game so they wouldn't get hit on the counter-attack, which Forest are very good at. And in a way, they sort of, neither team were prepared to actually go for it. I thought Forest were the better side overall. And they made it very difficult for Brighton. But there wasn't a lot in it. But not that Forest fans will care one iota, because they're in that semi-final now, and they've got Manchester City, which will be tough. We'll talk about their game in a bit, but what a season they're having, aren't they, Forest?
Staggering season, absolutely fantastic. You're right. I mean, we all know how they like to play, but there's not many being able to stop them, has there? And that, I think, that deserves great credit for all the players and the staff that are doing such a wonderful job. And yeah, it could. I mean, I was going to say it could be, but already it is a brilliant season. But can you imagine qualifying for Champions League football and winning the FA Cup? I mean, that would be some season for them.
Well, we had that debate, didn't we, about who should get manager of the season. We had a little bit, and we were saying Slot if he wins the Premier League. And I just said, if Nuno gets them into Champions League, it's got to be them. It has to be. So play the way they
the
play.
FA Cup as well.
Especially, yeah, exactly.
And if it's to win the FA Cup, I just think it's staggering. I think when you look back his time at Spurs, probably wasn't the right fit, right timing, whatever. I think a lot of managers are finding it difficult there. But to go there and do what he has done, the way he speaks, the way he's learned from mistakes maybe in the past, the way he talks up his players, the confidence, but also cool, calm and collected on the sideline and has a clear plan of what he wants to do. The only sort of maybe conundrum, they didn't start with Alanga and Hudson-Odoi. And I don't know if that's because of the fixtures coming up or, coming back from international break. But that's the one question mark I thought they could get the job done maybe. Even when they come on, didn't really affect the game too much. But every decision he's making seems to be bob on, even if they've got to win it, through penalties. And I was happy for Yates because he's been at Forest a long time, hasn't he? With all the new signings, all the money spent. Sometimes it's difficult for a player to make an impact for the quality that he is. But I thought to get the winning penalty, it was just fantastic for him.
I'll tell you what was really amazing about it was that after he scored that penalty, he did a 100-yard sprint after 2 hours of playing a game of football. I mean, it was absolutely full speed right to the other end of the pitch to in front of the Forest fans.
I don't know if you guys get this, but I look at some of the stuff that the players do nowadays, and when they're running or jumping or the positions are getting, it hurts me. I look at it and think, my back, my knees, my head, I couldn't do any of that stuff anymore. Just absolute machines nowadays, I swear, the machines.
Yeah, they were. Forest had a penalty that was given on the pitch and then they overruled it on VAR. What did you think, Micah? It was a hard one. I don't think it was clear cut. Did you? I don't think it was a penalty at all. I think but he also shouldn't have slid in. But then after he did, he put his foot on top of him if there was any contact onto his shoulder. Okay, but my only thing, I know what you mean. If I was sort of at the game, so Mitoma is sliding.
So if Matoma doesn't slide, you would be putting your foot there. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It was, I don't think it was, it's not a penalty. It wasn't as easy as that. It was just the fact that, like, he was about to step where Matoma has slid. And yes, he sort of made contact with Matoma and then his foot slid away. But I don't think it was as conclusive as people making out saying, it's never a pen. I just thought, well, where's he supposed to put his foot? You know? And if he doesn't slide, he doesn't slip, you know? So, but I don't think it was a penalty. I don't want to see penalties be given for that. But I also like the argument of, well, where's he supposed to put his foot? Do you know?
And I suppose under those circumstances, if it had been not given on the pitch, you'd have said absolutely fine. But the fact they overturned the decision
that's the thing. The thing.
But there we go. But it didn't affect the result because Forest won anyway at the end on penalties. And word on probably the one real standout in the game, Matt Sells, with his performance, made one very good save. I mean, there weren't many shots on target, to be honest. Made one very good save. And obviously in the penalty shootout, it was terrific. Again, 3 times this season now.
Unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, he's playing a huge part in what Forest are achieving this season. And you have to have a very good goalkeeper, a goalkeeper that's having a great season to do what they're doing. And he deserves great credit.
Okay, let's move on to Aston Villa. That was played today. They, in the end, cruised past Preston with a good performance in the second half. You were doing that game, Micah, yeah?
Yeah, I was doing that game at Deepdale. First of all, the atmosphere was great. It was a full house. You know, the villains like to travel in numbers, but Preston also made it a great atmosphere. I felt a little bit sorry, just for context for the game. There was without 8 players, you know, first team players who could have maybe started the game. A couple players on loan who couldn't play as well. So it was, the odds were against them from the start, really. And I actually thought they played pretty well in the first half. They're set up in like a 3-5-2, but it was more like a 5-3-2. The wing-backs, I think in the first 10 minutes, it was really aggressive with the press. And I listened to the press conference of Heckingbottom before. He said, we're going to give it a go. He doesn't want it to be a dull game. They went there with a plan, and it was working to a certain degree. But when they got in key areas, they just didn't have that quality that Villa had. And then in the second half, the game opened up. I thought Villa and Emery are just excellent. I've said it all season. What are the 3 points off 5th place? Tactics in the game. Kamara and Tielemans in midfield, just absolutely running it. Asensio played more of a number 10. Morgan Rogers actually played sort of from the right, Ramsey on the left, and Rashford up front. But Rashford was very good today. Watching him live, and we had a little bit of debate on BBC after the game, but his whole stature, his whole body language,
totally different.
It just, and I hate saying body language because certain players have body language that looks like they don't want to run. But Marcus is one of those players who comes alive when they've got the ball on the counter-attack. So sometimes when he's not running around and pressing, it can look bad. But everything about his game, but I think it's not just Rashford, I think it's a system that he's playing in. So because Villa are playing well, the manager's got a clear plan of what they want to do. All the rest of the players press really well. So it's almost like he has to join in, even though that's not the strength of his game. But I just thought his all-round games, his runs were really good. Very good timing. When to sort of drop off was very good. A lot of work was going down their right-hand side. He was finding space on the left. And I just thought it was a really accomplished performance.
It's not a good look for Man United, is it?
No, I was thinking the same thing.
In fairness, Al, it's... And we didn't have too much time to go into it. Where would he be, or where would he play for Man United? So he's not really a number 9, is he? He's a wide forward. I believe from the left.
He's best on the left.
Left.
That's
left
what I
of the
believe. So if Man United want to play 3 at the back, and the wing backs. He's not a wing back, and he's not a number 10, is he? So he's not a number. So that system doesn't really work for him. But how Villa play, and
Emery's getting the best out of him as well. And
correct,
yeah.
correct.
You mentioned Nuno Espirito Santo there.
Yeah.
About him if he was to win the FA Cup and get into the Champions League and be manager of the season. Well, if Unai Emery wins the FA Cup and gets Villa into Champions League, then he could be a contender. I mean, Eddie's won the Carabao. If he gets Newcastle into 4, I mean, that is a huge competition that is hotting up, isn't it? Who the race also to be manager of the season, because I know Liverpool.
What about if Villa win the Champions League?
Well, yeah, I didn't mention that. Absolutely. I mean, Liverpool obviously are going to win the league, and it's been a great season for them. In terms of the Premier League. But if those managers that we've mentioned win a trophy and get their clubs into Champions League football also, they'll be pushing all the way to win that.
I think overall, it's been a refreshing season in some ways, although it's slightly disappointing the fact for us as neutrals watching the league that Liverpool are running away with it, because you want it to be exciting at the end. But I do think it's been, the emergence of clubs like Bournemouth and Brighton and Villa and Forest, and I think it's good for the league to see that happen occasionally, to challenge the big dogs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I'd like to ask you, why do you think that is? I think maybe financial fair play has got something to do with it. Maybe the bigger teams, when they need something, would just go and spend and get the best players available. But I think teams now are having to watch what they're spending. If you look at what Man City did last summer, you're thinking, okay, you don't want to disrupt the team too much, but you could see their players was getting a little bit older. Maybe they would have gone out and spent, 150 million and got some new players in. But I think everyone's been a little bit cautious, and that's why you've got to give
they
credit
did that in
for
January instead.
They did at the start of the season. I'm talking about, but I mean, how many January signings do amazingly well? We always have this debate, don't we? There's probably 10 that we can reel off that have made a real impact in January. You get your best signings in the summer, don't you? Really? Come on now.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
You do.
Generally, I would say that.
Generally, there are obviously exceptions around. But we've got one remaining. Palace comfortably won at Fulham. They're really going well, Palace, on all fronts at the moment. Having had an awful start to the season, they've really turned things round.
Yeah, he was under pressure as well, wasn't he, by all accounts at the beginning of the season. But he's absolutely turned it around, and they've got some really good players, particularly I think in forward positions. They're a real threat. I mean, Eze was fantastic, wasn't he?
Yeah. The goal. Yeah. In the first half, he only had 2 completed passes, which was mad because he'd scored one and also had an assist. So.
That's all that matters.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all you need.
But he's a talent. His goal was breathtaking, wasn't it? I mean, it's a thing of beauty.
He's a player, though, isn't he? I think we've been saying it for a while now. Again, another one who likes to play in that number 10, but come off the left-hand side. Yeah. I just think he's brilliant to watch. He really is. He's not afraid to take someone on. That's what we like to see, don't we? But you know what? We always talk about Eze, and the goal was brilliant. And we've talked about Mateta, but Sarr for this team.
Oh yeah.
He's brilliant. He doesn't stop running. I remember when he was at Watford and he was linked to Liverpool, won he for about 45 million, and never happened. Things sort of went a little downhill for him. He's gone to Palace, and now he's looking like the player of a couple of seasons ago. He's just really athletic, but gets in the right areas. His movement as well looks like it's got sharper as well. So it's nice to see him doing well.
Yeah, the other player that caught my eye, not for the first time, is Adam Wharton.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that lovely bit of play? It was all over social media, as well as seeing it in the game, where he kind of swiveled his way around in midfield and then turned again. The whole crowd got up. He's
very clever, cute, very clever player. Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
What about Richards at the back? It's always nice to talk about Richards, isn't it?
Any relation?
Chris Richards.
A good one anyway. What about the semis at Wembley, guys? What's your thoughts on having the semi-finals of the FA Cup at Wembley? Do you like it or what?
When you said semis, then I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then
you have to bring it down.
Too many Guinnesses, this lad. Or what?
I'm on the water. It's nothing, no Guinness, nothing.
That's as good as it gets for me at this age, I tell you now. Obviously, I'm talking about Leicester. You know,
brilliant. Richards, you have to bring it down, don't you? You see,
sorry, guys. I mean,
let me rephrase it, lads. What do you think the semi-finals at Wembley?
Exactly, just say the semi-finals.
Yeah, and what do you mean you got to bring it down? Innuendo heaven. Semi-finals at Wembley. I think it takes away a little bit from actually making it all the way to a final. But on the other hand, for say some smaller clubs, not necessarily, not even these really, but for last season Coventry, for example, for a chance for them to play at Wembley is something really special. But I know there's a lot of games at Wembley now because you've got the playoffs and your playoff finals if you get to that. So
it don't matter though, does it? Because
it's just a ground, isn't it?
We're talking about it as high-level Premier League or top division players. You guys got so many caps for England, but Preston were a game away from going to Wembley, and I just feel like the magic of the cup, maybe for the elite, it's going to Wembley or we're going to Wembley again. But for some clubs, they never get the chance. So I'm all for it. I really am. I just feel like it's a wonderful day out. And yes, we'd like to have Wembley for the final, especially if it's, say, 2 Premier League teams. But for the... for a Preston, what a story that would have been, It
would. What about when you've got 2 sides from the north and all the fans have to come all the way down? But I suppose at the same time, it's a great day out going to Wembley, and well, it is if you win. So I'm mixed on it.
I'm like you guys. I think it does take a little bit away from the final, but I understand Micah's argument. But again, when you're on about 2 clubs having to come from up north and down to Wembley, then I'm like you guys. I've got mixed on it.
Yeah, you're snobs, aren't you? That's why snobs.
Snobs.
Absolute snobs. So we play at Wembley every week in my day.
Well, Alan and me, we had a lot of caps for England, Marcus, so yeah, that's probably true. I just want to turn on to the championship, actually, the top of the championship.
Oh, don't. Please. I was having a great weekend. I'd been to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, sunning myself. I looked at the scores. Leeds, early doors, boom, marching on together. We're Leeds, aren't we? And then they equalise. And then 4, 5, 6 minutes before the end, 2-1 up. Nyonto, lovely. And then they go on
96th minute, Micah.
Equalise. And I was just like, wow. And poor Melier, a penalty save, outstanding. And the first goal, he comes up, collects it and drops it. I don't really think the second one was his fault. They give it away in midfield. Yes, he could do better, but it's not his fault conceding that. But I was, it ruined my weekend. But anyway, go ahead.
Tasty up the top in it there.
Sheffield United 83 points to top, and then Leeds and Burnley have both got 81 points. Leeds' goal difference is comfortably better than Burnley. Burnley won 1-0, another clean sheet.
another one. Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is amazing, yeah.
It's going to be very tight. And you know what generally happens? The team that does miss out on the top 2 might not make it. Because of the nature of the playoffs. But
don't say that. I thought Leeds were going up last
I thought Leeds
season.
were going to cruise through it a few weeks ago.
Do you remember when they beat Sheffield United away?
Yeah.
Just recently. And did that take them 5 or 6 points clear? And then a couple of bad results, a couple of draws, a couple of losses.
One thing in Leeds' favour is that Burnley play Sheffield United in about 3 or 4 weeks' time, 21st of April. So that will be a huge game.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah. So and also the thing with which we've seen in the last couple of seasons, it's tough when you get back to the Premier League.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I was thinking. I was texting with Frank Lampard a couple of weeks ago, saying how well you were doing and that sort of stuff. And I didn't actually say it, but I felt like saying, right, get yourself to the playoffs, get yourself to Wembley, and then lose honourably and stay in the Championship and win some football matches.
Yeah, he's been to Wembley before, didn't he? With Derby. I'm
Playoffs,
sure he went to Wembley before.
Yeah, it was the playoffs, weren't they?
Playoffs, yeah.
That'd be interesting to follow that.
Hello, I'm William Dalrymple.
And I'm Anita Anand. And we are the hosts of Empire, also from Goalhanger.
And we're here to tell you about our recent mini-series that we've just done on the Troubles.
In it, we try to get to the very heart of the violent conflict in Northern Ireland that lasted from the 1960s all the way up to 1998.
It's something that we both lived through and remember from our childhoods, but younger listeners may not know anything about it. And it's a time when there was division along religious and political lines. Neighbours turned against each other. Residential city streets became battlegrounds. Thousands were killed. And the IRA bombed London.
It seemed as if an end was out of reach. But in 1998, a peace process finally brought those 30 years of violence to an end.
But the memory of the Troubles is still present, not only within Northern Irish communities who experienced it, but in international relations and political approaches to peace. And new audiences are starting to understand this national trauma through films like Belfast and Kneecap and TV shows like Derry Girls.
In fact, our guest on the miniseries is Patrick Radden-Keefe. Now, he's the author of the non-fiction book that inspired the hit TV drama Say Nothing.
It's one of my favourite books. It's, I think, the kind of in cold blood for our generation, extraordinary work of non-fiction.
To hear the full series, just search Empire wherever you get your podcasts.
On that note, let's call it a day. We'll be back with our question and answer episode on Wednesday. But for now, goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Have a great week, everyone.